the girl visited her boyfriend's house for the first time, only to be horrified to discover that her future mother-in-law was the first teacher who discovered her secret when she was pregnant in high school. Gina was immediately terrified and turned pale. A huge sense of panic spread through Gina's heart, making her desperately want to leave the place. Her teacher had known since yesterday that the person dating her son was Gina, so she wasn't surprised. She simply coldly suggested that Gina join for dinner. Gina had no choice but to follow Carter to the dining room. Looking at the table full of delicious food, she understood that this was Carter's family showing respect to her, but she didn't feel happy at all. The teacher kept a gloomy face throughout the entire meal. What should have been a happy, relaxing welcome dinner was eaten in Gina's anxious unease. Unexpectedly, when everyone was chatting casually, Carter's grandmother suddenly asked about Gina's family situation. Then Carter answered for Gina. Gina's family consists of her mother and a 7-year-old younger brother. Grandmother thought Gina's mother had a child later in life, but Gina's teacher knew the truth. She knew that this so-called younger brother was the child Gina had when she was younger. At this moment, Gina couldn't even speak. She felt exhausted just from breathing. Fortunately, Carter noticed her discomfort and suggested showing Gina his room. Pulling Gina away, Carter's grandmother only then realized that Gina's face looked a bit bad. She quickly asked her son if she had said something wrong that upset the future daughter-in-law. Carter's father smiled and reassured her that Gina was probably just nervous, since it was her first time here. After Gina entered Carter's bedroom, she couldn't hold on any longer and collapsed onto the floor. Carter immediately asked with concern what was wrong, but Gina didn't tell Carter about the relationship with his mother. She immediately broke down and told Carter she wanted to go home. Though Carter didn't understand why Gina was in such a hurry to leave, he didn't ask further questions. Instead, he lied to his family, saying that the TV station urgently needed Gina, so Gina had to leave early. Gina felt guilty the entire time. She didn't dare to make eye contact with her teacher. She hurriedly said goodbye and rushed out of there. After Carter dropped her off at home, she was still immersed in sadness, unable to snap out of it. She never imagined that her much-anticipated meeting would end in such an awkward way. At the same time, she knew that her teacher would never accept her as a daughter-in-law. The thought of separating from Carter made Gina's heart ache as she watched Carter's back disappear. Gina, hidden behind the wall, couldn't stop her tears from flowing. Just then, Gina's phone rang. It was her teacher calling. She invited Gina to meet at a coffee shop, and then directly asked Gina if her younger brother was the child she had given birth to years ago. Though it seemed like a question, her tone was very certain. Gina knew she couldn't hide it anymore. She could only nod in agreement. Her teacher sighed deeply when she saw this, and then told Gina that she had known since yesterday that it was Gina who was dating Carter. She had hesitated all night, unsure whether to cancel today's meeting, but since Gina had been one of her favorite students, she thought she should accept Gina's past. However, when she saw Gina and Carter walk in together, she realized she couldn't accept it after all. She admitted that although she was a teacher and felt sorry for Gina's situation, she was also an ordinary mother. She didn't want Carter to become a stepfather to someone else's child, so she hoped Gina would end things with Carter as soon as possible. Then she stood up and left. At this moment, Gina could no longer hold back and burst into tears. She couldn't help but resent how unfair fate was, taking away her hard-earned happiness. Her homeroom teacher, seeing this scene, felt a pang of sympathy. She knew this wasn't Gina's fault, but for the sake of her son, she had to play the villain. At that moment, Gina couldn't help but recall the time when she was helpless and pregnant before marriage, and how her homeroom teacher cared for and looked after her, and the scene when she was expelled from school, her teacher encouraging her. On one side was her grateful teacher, on the other side was her beloved Carter. Gina was caught in a difficult position, but she knew very well breaking up with Carter now was the best outcome. So, when Carter called her the next day to meet up, she touched the ring Carter had given her and decided to end their relationship. But what Gina never expected was, when she arrived at the place Carter had arranged to meet, she found it had been set up as a proposal scene, and Carter, holding a microphone, was passionately confessing his love for her. Tears welled up in Gina's eyes. How she wished time could stand still in this moment, but this was only a wish. Just as she mustered the courage to break up with him, Carter suddenly took out a bank book and told Gina that it was his savings from many years. From now on, he would leave it with her to take care of, and that he would work hard to give her a home. He even dreamed of having 5 children with her in the future, and registering Harry under his household, saying that since Harry was Gina's child, he would be like his own child. This made Gina feel even more guilty. The words break up were on the tip of her tongue, but she couldn't say them. In the end, she could only apologize to Carter, and ran away from there. On her way back to the company, Gina thought back to the awkward moments when she first met Carter, and the trust and dependence they shared after falling in love. That time was the happiest period of her life. They had come a long way together, and had already become each other's lifelong love and support. Gina realized clearly, she couldn't live without Carter. She immediately decided to try for herself, so she went directly to her teacher, and knelt down with a thud. She begged her teacher to let her be with Carter. She and Carter truly loved each other, but her teacher refused to agree. She said it would be painful at first, but time would heal everything. If she still had any shame, she shouldn't keep chasing Carter, and then stood up and coldly left. Gina was completely desperate. From then on, Gina started to deliberately distance herself from Carter. She didn't answer his calls or reply to his messages. Carter couldn't reach her, so he went to the TV station to find her. He asked sadly why she was avoiding him. Gina's heart was torn, but just as she was about to pretend to be indifferent and break up with him, Carter suddenly got a call from Gina's uncle. He told him that Gina's phone was unreachable, and asked if he and Gina had taken Harry from kindergarten. They found out Harry was missing. Carter and Gina immediately panicked, but they quickly guessed that the person who took Harry was likely Gina's ex-boyfriend, Harry's biological father, Jack. And they weren't wrong. At that moment, Harry was with Jack. When Gina and Carter rushed home anxiously, they saw Jack holding the sleeping Harry. Carter angrily questioned Jack. How could he take Harry without saying a word? But Jack proudly replied, because he was Harry's father. Just then, Gina's mother came home from work, because Gina had never told her that Jack was Harry's father. She found it strange that Jack was holding Harry, but didn't think too much about it. She stepped forward to take Harry, but Carter quickly stopped her, and Jack, who had been arrogant earlier, now looked guilty. He quickly made an excuse about work and left.